Okay, so who will win the 2024 presidential election and who will be the next president of the United States of America? Astrologically speaking, we can see this very clearly. I tried really finding to see because I really did think this was going to be a close race. And who knows, it might end up being a very close race, but I don't think she wins. And and I also think that and I'll explain this as we get now to Trump's transits. I believe it's going to be a very weird sort of um, weird, surprising, very Uranian uh, result for this election. So let me open up Trump's chart here and go to the transits. And let me verify the transits are right. Okay, November 5th, 2024 at 11:11. Perfect. So, um, his transiting ascendant ruler, the sun, is in the third house of contracts, communications, gains of your self-worth. And this sun, I've been looking at these things. Again, I use Placidus, um, so the way I work is again very different to some other astrologers. But this sun, I think, becomes this ascendant ruler becomes very important because it's completely unaspected, and I think that is going to push for a win because and I've seen this again. I do a lot of research with charts, and I've studied weddings and I've studied and things that have contracts in them, right? And you could assume obviously that a presidency thing has um, contracts involved. So I've seen a lot of weddings, and usually weddings have a very powerful third house when they actually occur, when the wedding actually occurs. So, and I use this for election too, whenever I'm doing election charts for people. Um, for a wedding or anytime there's a big contract situation going on, we want to look at the third, we want to look at the seventh. So this is and we possibly want to look at the ninth as well. So, especially for weddings. So, um, again, it's a good placement for his ascendant ruler, and I believe it's a little bit better placement than Kamala's ascendant ruler. Okay. Transiting Venus, ruler of the third house of communication, contracts, and gains of self-worth, and ruler of the 10th house of career, recognition, and fame, is in the fourth house, conjunct natal moon and in opposition to the sun and Rahu. This in itself already is going to guarantee the election by the nation and therefore a win. The transiting ruler of his six, which is, I believe, this is going to be the most important part of this transit, the transiting ruler of the six, Uranus, um, is conjunct the MC in the 10th house, and it's sextiling natal Venus and natal Saturn and squares natal Mars. So this also signifies a win and a very radical one. In fact, this win may be, like I was saying shortly, may be very sudden. It may be very exaggerated or very one of a kind. So let's just say it's going to be an eccentric type of win, very Uranian. Um, and I believe that this may be, we could say, hey, he wins by a landslide, right? Or he wins in a, last minute type of situation. Where all of a sudden he's like losing or something, and then all of a sudden he just takes the lead out of nowhere. So it's going to be very, very weird. It's going to be a very weird election night, I believe. And well, the whole thing has been very weird in general, but this is that Uranian nature of of what's occurring. So I believe that it's going to be a surprise for a lot of people. So transiting Jupiter, which again, keep in mind that Jupiter is his curios. And also, I don't know if I mentioned that already, but he's in a Sun Fidaria, I believe. So the Sun is the ruler of his ascendant, and it's placed in his 10th house. Okay. So that's gonna be big for him. So the Lord of this chart is transiting his again, Lord of this chart, I'm referring to Jupiter, is transiting his 10th house of career, and it is conjunct the transiting part of fortune, and it is conjunct natal Sun, Rahu, and Uranus. And this is like the icing on the cake, pretty much in guaranteeing his win. And another thing to look at is this transiting Mercury, which is the ruler of the second and of the 11th houses, because it's transiting the fourth house and sixth house natal Neptune. So, if I'm trying to look again, being as biased as possible, his worst transiting placement, I think, is that Neptune transit because it rules the eighth and it's transiting the eighth. So, the eighth is the house of death, of legacies, of other people's money. It may mean that he's gonna, this might be just legacy that he's gonna create through this win. But in a way, or maybe he leaves a legacy, God forbid something happens to him. Um, but even like that, even this being his worst placement, it's enshrined with natal Venus, which is, after Jupiter, it's the greatest benefic. Um, and you know, transiting Rahu is also in his eighth, and in opposition to Neptune. And that may seem like concerning, superficially speaking, but it's not a big problem because that this transiting Jupiter is conjunct natal Rahu. So this, I would say, this softens up the expression of how that Rahu in the eighth acts for him. So I believe that just with these things, I could go deeper into this, and I've seen the solar returns um, and the secondary progressions, and I've done all this stuff. But trying to just trying to be as unbiased as possible. Uh, I do believe Donald Trump will win, and very possibly he could win by a landslide. I'm trying to not sound so affirmative on that, but I do know that it's going to be a very Uranian fashion the way he wins, and that leaves everyone, I would say, jaw dropped. Even his voters may be surprised. So um, I believe that I believe that um, I also looked at the dashas because I do work with Vedic astrology as well, even though I'm not using sidereal, I'm using tropical. So I don't take my dashas from the Ayanamsa. Okay. I do it from a tropical standpoint. So the dashas look different when you work with them this way. So he would be in a Saturn Rahu dasha, and uh I believe Kamala is in a Saturn Mercury dasha. Okay. But just taking it, if we take it from the Fidaria standpoint, he's in a Sun Fidaria, and the Sun rules his ascendant, rules his 12th house as well, but rules his ascendant. And and it's placed in his 10th. So, he's got that transiting part of fortune also going over his sun, conjunct his sun. And Jupiter being there in the 10th, I think just guarantees his win. And also Uranus being there, I think, conjunct the midheaven gives him that win in a very Uranian way. And of course, it's the ruler of his sixth house of civil service and all of this. So uh, he does have the natal part of fortune in the sixth as well. So I believe these are all the indications astrologically that he will win. And in regards to KAMALA losing, let me make sure so I'm not talking out of memory here. I look at this once more. Again, she's in that Venus Fidaria, and Venus rules her fifth and her 12th houses. Um, so, and Venus is transiting her sixth house. So I believe that doesn't look too good for her. It's like she loses the job, right? Uh, Venus being her Fidaria period lord, being in the sixth and ruling the fifth and, the 12th, and those aspects that are being made there are quite challenging for her. And of course, that Pluto in the eighth, I don't like that regarding her in general, for her health and mental health and specific, um, you know, nervous system, and just feeling quite defeated. Okay. So, and then regarding Donald Trump, I think that he will feel quite strong. And the only problem here, I would say that again, he's in this Fidaria period of the sun, and winning may also be sort of a loss. Okay. Um, and let's try to interpret that in with the greatest possible intention. But you know, winning this will also put him in a lot of danger. I believe he will be in a lot of danger. But again, he's got that Mars, which is a very spiritual warrior. You could say he's got a spiritual guide that's like a warrior, right? That protects him. Um, this is he's got a warrior angel protecting him, you could say. So, but that Mars is also, it's a double-edged sword. So, and him being again in this Vidara period of the sun, and the sun rules his first and his 12th. So again, from the standpoint of how I work with Placidus. So, um, conclusion: Donald Trump wins, and wins in a very Uranian fashion, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the results. And again, just wanted to put this out there. But if anybody's interested in working with me, again, just reach out. I do natal readings, and I do all this prediction work as well. And I also practice hypnosis for many, many years. And it's something that I do in a very unique fashion, because I do work metaphysically, and I'm using Bach flowers, and I'm using astrology and a bunch of very cool metaphysical approaches and tools within astrology uh, to serve as astrological remediations, and things that I'm very proud to say work very, very well. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and let's see what the results are.